Hi guys, it's Eli with Eli's Naturals. Welcome to another week of Faith, Health, and Herbs with Eli. This week I want to talk to you guys about something that I deal with and have dealt with for years, adrenal fatigue. I know it's kind of a buzzword right now. A lot of people claim they have adrenal fatigue, and a lot of people do. I mean, let's face it, in today's society, our adrenals are exhausted. And can you blame them? So I want to start by talking a little bit about what adrenal fatigue is and what causes adrenal fatigue, because sometimes that's what we have to understand before we can really look at, what's causing it. So most of you know what your adrenals are. Your adrenals are your fight or flight response. Well, now they call it fight, flight, or freeze. So it comes in three parts. Either, that instinct to fight or the instinct to run. Or right now they've also added, some people actually get an instinct to freeze like a deer in headlights. And so, it's really necessary. If you think back to the days of survival, having that ability to run and to have all your adrenaline going when a bear is chasing you and you have to get up a tree, that's really important. Or, having the adrenaline, even today, having that adrenaline burst when, you're a mom of a toddler and the toddler steps out into the street and there's a car coming and you got to be able to run and grab that kid and yank them up and keep them from being hit by that car. That's a really important thing. The problem of it is our adrenals don't understand stress response. To them, everything is the same. So our bodies put off the exact same stress response when you're sitting at your desk typing and your boss comes in and says, hey, I need this report that you're not even halfway done with by 4 o'clock before you leave today. Or in my husband's case, it's noon and hey, you've got a hot load that's got to be delivered by 2 o'clock. And oh, by the way, it's a 3-hour drive. The body doesn't understand. To the body, that is the same adrenaline response as the mom who's trying to keep her toddler from being hit by the car. And so there is no little bit of adrenaline response or big adrenaline response. It's all an adrenaline response. And the reason why so many people get adrenaline exhaustion is because while we may not be darting in front of moving traffic to save our child, we're constantly under the stress of your boss saying, hey, you got 3 hours, you got 2 hours to do a 3-hour drive, or, you've got 75 minutes to do a project that should take you 5 hours. And it's stress. And, it's mom stress. It's mom stress of walking in the door from work and your kid says, oh, mom, I have a science project due tomorrow morning and I've done nothing for it yet. Or, your kid calling you at noon and saying, hey, I've got practice and I forgot my band equipment. Can you bring it to me? That's all stress, and it's constant. And what ends up happening is we are turning our adrenals on, and very seldom are we turning them off. A lot of people, and this was an issue I have, you're in constant fight or flight. It's like your adrenals don't know when to turn off, and they can't. You're in this constant burst of cortisol. And normally, your cortisol levels are supposed to come up and down and up and down and up and down. But we keep them at this constantly high level. And it's no wonder that our adrenals are exhausted. I mean, you've got them work. It's something that's supposed to work 50% of the time is working 100% of the time. Of course, it's going to get wore out. And the other problem of it is when we're in adrenal fatigue, what we don't understand sometimes is that it affects the entire body. The brain makes decisions all the time. And when there is a fight or flight situation, your brain has to choose what's important. So basically what your brain does is it's like a power grid, and it's like yesterday I was listening to a thing on the Titanic and the Carpathia, which was the boat that had to get to the Titanic to save the people. They were putting everything they could into the steam. And in order to do that, they were cutting down on other uses of power and steam. So they were literally turning down the electric on the passengers in the boat. Thankfully, it was at night and probably nobody really noticed. but they were turning everything down to the bare minimum so that that boat could put everything it had into speed. Your body does the same thing. Your body focuses everything on speed. So when your adrenals are kicking in, when you are in that fight or flight response, that stress response, your body's saying, what systems do I not need? Digestion. Don't really need it. It's not important right now. We'll shut it down. You know, the heart. There are things that the body does that the body says, I don't need this right now. We'll focus on it later. That is why technically your body has two functions. It has the fight or flight, but then it also has the rest and digest. And the rest and digest is supposed to be when we can turn all those systems back on. The problem of it is when you're not coming out of fight or flight, you're never going into rest and digest. The switch is never getting flipped back. You know, the Carpathia has taken electric from all the rooms, everything you possibly can, but it's never giving it back. It's never saying, okay, we've made it to our destination, turn the power back up and let that poor woman dry her hair. It never happens. And this is the problem. This, believe it or not, and I know, I always like to start out with lifestyle. Well, this really is where relaxation techniques are the bomb. You notice I'm sitting out here in the open, under a tree, nice little breeze blowing. I'm taking it in. I'm taking in nature. Taking in nature is a rest and digest response. It calms the body. And studies show that just 30 minutes in nature, a 30-minute walk, can last the body an entire week. So spending 30 minutes in the park gives you a rest and digest feeling that lasts an entire week. Breathing. I was just reading or listening to an article yesterday about the fact that even when we're sitting on our computers, we don't breathe. So, taking 5 minutes, get up from your computer, walk around, take some deep breaths. I know breathing has this whole thing, but the truth of the matter is we don't breathe. When you inhale, you activate your sympathetic, which is, of course, your fight or flight. But when you exhale, you activate your parasympathetic system, which is your rest and digest. And we don't exhale enough. Deep breathing, it's great. A lot of times my favorite one is the box. Basically, it's kind of where you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4. Exhale for 4, hold it for 4. Breathe in for 4, hold it for 4. Exhale for 4, hold it for 4. So I forgot where I was at. The other one is just take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you exhale longer than you inhale. So if you breathe in for 4, exhale for 8. Breathe in through your mouth and out through your nose. And see if when you take a deep breath, can you feel your belly button move? If your belly button isn't moving every once in a while when you breathe, that means you're breathing out of here and not from your diaphragm. You're not getting that deep in the lungs air. Meditation. The Bible mentions a lot. Pray and meditate. And there's a lot of different connotations about meditation. Meditation is focus. It's staying where you're at. So much of the time we're here and our mind's over there. I've mentioned before there's a book on meditation, and he basically says, when I eat breakfast, I think about eating breakfast. When I brush my teeth, I think about brushing my teeth. Read a poem. If you're spiritual and you're a Christian, read a couple Bible verses. And then just sit and focus on nothing but those Bible verses for a few minutes. Focus on nothing but that poem for a few minutes. Sit out in nature like this and look at the flowers. When you see the flowers, you can't see the flowers. Where are the flowers? There's the flowers. Sit and look at the flower and think about nothing but the flower. Notice its leaves. Notice its color. Notice the shape of the petals. That is meditation. That is calming your spirit. All of these things are things we don't do. You know, when you're a mom and you can feel it up to here, I don't know about you, but I get the stress response. My eyes, like my eye sockets, physically hurt. And that's usually the first sign that I'm getting it up to here. Walk away. Get up from your computer desk, go walk away. You know, put the little ones in front of the television for 10 minutes and go in your bedroom and meditate, take some deep breathing. Take 10 minutes. You know, put the baby in the crib for 10 minutes and breathe. Mama deserves a breath. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is what you all come here for every week, and that's the herbs. Yes, there are herbs. There's actually a lot of herbs that can help with adrenals. Two of them, two classes. One of them we've already discussed is adaptogens. Adaptogens help with stress response. The other one that we talk a lot about is nervines. Nervines have a calming and relaxing feel. And so, sorry, my kids are over there. Okay, so let's talk about herbs. Let's talk about the herbs specifically that God created to help us with our adrenals. The first one I want to talk about is ginseng. Ginseng is a pretty popular herb. It's known for its stamina, but it's actually a stress response herb. It helps your body build a resilience. It helps your body resist disease. It helps improve your body's stress response. Now, I will say with ginseng is, it does give you stamina, but it's not like caffeine, guys. It gives you stamina because it helps the body improve the way it deals with stress. So it takes away that run down stress feeling. That's what it does. And I will also tell you that ginseng, a lot of times you find people who are older get better benefit out of ginseng, it seems, than people who are younger. The other one is a really good one. That's ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is another adaptogen herb. Ashwagandha is considered an adrenal tonic. It is probably one of the go-to herbs when it comes for the adrenals. It reduces the effects of stress and helps promote energy. Now, one thing I would tell you about ashwagandha is not a right now herb. Ashwagandha is one you have to do over and over again. Usually you have to take it once or twice a day for at least 6 weeks to feel a response. And when you feel that response, you're not going to feel like, oh my gosh. It's going to be more like ashwagandha is great for sleep too. So if you take it once or twice a day, taking it at night can help you sleep. But there again, you're not going to wake up with this feeling of, oh my gosh, I just had an amazing night's sleep. You're going to suddenly realize that halfway through your day, you're not as tired as you were last week. Or, your kids are going to scream at you and you're going to notice my stress response didn't last as long as it usually does. I managed to deal with it without my eyes feeling like they're popping out of my head. So, another one that I really like is skullcap. I know we haven't talked a lot about skullcap. Skullcap is a nervine. It's not an adaptogen, it's a nervine, and it helps calm brain function. And it really helps relieve chronic stress. Now, skullcap, I would tell you, a lot of herbs, especially when you believe in the eclectic way that I do, you notice that what we call herb people. And that is, there are certain herbs that if somebody fits into that spot just perfectly, that is a skullcap person. A skullcap person can't focus. They get a dull headache. They get a tension headache a lot of times right there in the back of their head. They always feel like their brain is scattered, like they can't focus. They get bothered by lights and sounds. They might comment that, they walk into a bright room and it actually feels like the light is personally attacking them. They don't handle stress well. They get overstimulated and they can be very twitchy when they sleep. It's like even when they're sleeping, they can't calm down. So they're constantly jerking. That is the skullcap person. That is the person that skullcap was made for. The last one is licorice. Now, licorice is a really good herb for the adrenals. It helps maintain adrenal homeostasis, which means it helps maintain the liquid level of the blood. It helps balance your electrolytes. Now, part of the way that it does this, it also helps with urine, how thick your blood is, how much fluid is in your blood. So it can affect potassium. So if you are on heart medication or have heart issues, you got to be really careful with licorice, because licorice can mess with your potassium level. So if you have a heart issue or taking heart medications, even if it's just a baby aspirin, consult a professional before you start taking licorice. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is I want to express a way where we always talk about the way we take herbs, but I want to talk about how you can use herbs. Herbs can be food. Herbs can be a liquid you take twice a day. They can be a food you eat with every meal. They can also be things like compresses. So I want to talk to you and tell you how to make a chamomile compress. It's really easy. What you do is you make a strong infusion. You're going to take 2 ounces of chamomile to a quart of water. You're going to bring that to a boil. You're going to let it steep for 10 minutes. Then you're going to strain it. You're going to take a washcloth. You're going to dip that into the chamomile tea, so it's all nice and saturated and warm as you can handle it. And then you're going to put it on tension. So if you're one of those people who carries tension in your shoulders, in your upper back, in your neck, you're going to apply it there. When the rag cools off, dip it again. Dip it again, put it back on the muscle. When the rag cools off, dip it again. Let that chamomile absorb into those tense muscles and relax them. And you're going to do this probably a good 5-10 times, or either till the chamomile tea cools off, or you get tired of doing it, or you feel improvement. So that's what I have for you today, guys. Sorry for a couple of interruptions, but I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you all enjoy your herbs. Find some relaxation, and I will talk to you guys next time. Health, faith, and herbs.